What's up, everybody? As you know, yesterday we got the Armaguerra SMG added to Warzone. 2 days ago, we got it to Vanguard. And I'm just going to save your time if you don't have an interest in watching this whole video. Not worth leveling it up. It's kind of just a mid-tier SMG. It's not good. It's not bad. The nerfed well gun, to me, felt better. I haven't fully looked at the numbers, but the well gun seems better to me. The MP40 feels as good as the MP40, but with more recoil, so the MP40 feels better. And the PPSH... it's still the PPSH with the hip fire, and the Cold War SMGs feel better. Everything just feels better. This just feels like a mid-tier SMG that's only really worth it if you're looking to mix things up, which can be said anytime we get any new gun. They're just worth leveling up if you want to try something new. So I'll go ahead and get in numbers. I'll go ahead and show you a couple different loadouts on how you want to run this, and I'll show you kind of why I do or don't like this gun. And you can make up your mind. You can agree with me, not. It's up to you, but let's go ahead and jump into some numbers. Okay, so I'm sure many of you, if not all of you that would watch this, have heard of the website sim.gg. It's the competitor to True Game Data. The big difference is sim.gg data mines their data, whereas Tony at True Game Data was worried that could run into some legal problems, so he does all his testing. Unfortunately, that means sim.gg gets their data quicker and is more guaranteed to be accurate. So hopefully TCG can catch up, but I went ahead and jumped on to sim.gg since this gun was just added, and I know Tony hasn't had time to test all the different barrels, the ammo types, hollow point, vital, hasn't had time to test all that, whereas sim.gg was able to data mine that right away. The only difference being there was a patch that patched something for the 30-06 rounds, or just the 30 caliber rounds, that was a bug that was accidentally added. So that's been fixed. Changes the multipliers a little bit. That's not updated on sim.gg. So I got the numbers myself. As you can see, I put in recoil booster because that's what you use on all the Vanguard guns. Different barrel, different ammo types, hollow point, and then vital. Got the fire rates. They have damage. They have the whole damage body chart as well as TTKs, bullets to kill, different ranges. Under the body chart, they do have the range, so I put that on my spreadsheet as well as RPM, damage, shots to kill, and then I just Googled a TTK calculator. So I'll link sim.gg if you want to check it out for yourself. I'll link that in the description, as well as this spreadsheet here that I created. I started off with just base TTK for each of the different rounds, different barrels, and recoil booster, because you're going to use recoil booster. So if you look, the 8mm rounds, the big difference between the 8 and the 9, the 8mm is supposed to give you bullet velocity, range, and damage while hurting recoil, movement speed, ADS speed, and fire rate. Definitely hurts the fire rate. You can see it's 896 RPM versus the base 9mm rounds are 984 RPM. Still both fast fire rates. The damage change was negligible. They are pretty much the same damage, which means the shots to kill are the same, meaning that the TTK is going to be faster with the stock rounds. And then it's supposed to help with damage range, but once again, Sim has it listed both up to 11.6 meters for the 315 barrel, the 10.3, and 10.3 for the other two barrels you might use. So that means everything is the same except for the fire rate, essentially, and so we're going to not use the 8mm rounds, so I'm not going to talk about those any further. So then the difference comes between the 30 caliber rounds and the 9mm rounds. The fire rate, the 30 caliber rounds end up giving you velocity, bullet velocity, and fire rate while hurting recoil. Overall damage, which doesn't seem like that's accurate either. And then hurts your hip fire and your movement speed supposedly as well. Once again, I don't think the game's descriptions are very accurate because Sim data mined the actual numbers, which the game does have to have the numbers. And you can see, other than head, chest, and neck damages, they actually do more. They do more damage to the stomach, upper limbs, and lower limbs, but they do hurt the head, neck, and chest, which is what the patch fixed today. But the RPM ends up being so great. The rounds per minute gets all the way up to 1,011. Ends up being so great that the time to kill, other than head shot, it ends up being actually a lot better. Headshots only 5 milliseconds worse, something that you would not feel. So the 30-06 rounds end up being the fastest killing rounds of all of them. you do have a pretty severe damage drop-off, with the furthest damage range being 9.2 millimeters, and then down to 8.2 for the other two barrels you might use. And so you want to use the 30-06 rounds if you're going to be barrel stuffing people, but if you're going to keep your distance a litlittle bit, you probably want to stick with the 9mm rounds, but we'll continue to talk about both for now. I did use the 3 different barrels. The 315mm barrel supposedly gives you damage, more overall damage, while also reducing fall off. Once again, I didn't really find that to be the case. Well, it's different for head chest because of the 30-06 rounds here, but they did give you extra damage in sorry, the 315 didn't give you damage. It actually hurt your damage. So once again, the game description seemed wrong based off of Sims numbers. And so the 315 barrel does not give you the best time to kill. That leaves you to the 570mm barrel or the 550mm barrel. The 570mm barrel supposedly gives you accuracy and control and helps headshot damage while hurting body damage and sprint to fire speed. The 550mm gives you recoil control plus better sway control plus less flinch while hurting ADS, movement speed, and sprint to fire speed. So when you look at the 30-06 rounds for fastest TTK, you can see that the 570 does give you a better headshot TTK while giving you about the same chest TTK, or gives you a worse chest TTK. The neck ends up staying the same. And then the stomach is worse, and the limbs are the same. So really, you want to consider using probably the 570mm barrel if you're going to be hitting all chest and head and neck. But if you think you're going to hit more chest and stomach and upper limbs, you probably want to stick with the 550mm barrel. So then that gets us into using hollow point. Hollow point, it helps it helps limbs, but it hurts damage range. As you can see, with hollow point, you get all the way down to 6.9 millimeters, or with the other barrels, 6.2 millimeters of range. So this is super barrel stuffing. If you want to use hollow point, you have to absolutely barrel stuff because they nerfed hollow point in the most recent update. So hollow point, probably not worth it unless you're really barrel stuffing people. And then the other option is Vital. Vital gives you more torso, aka chest damage, while hurting your recoil control. So it's iffy if you really want to use those, because when you look at Vital's TTK, it doesn't hurt the drop off at all compared to your base drop off, both 9.2 meters, 8.2 meters, and 8.2 meters. But Vital does hurt your recoil, and it only helps limbs. It does help you get insane limb TTKs. You know, you can get as low as 432 milliseconds, but you don't really want to be hitting the limbs. So it's kind of up to you if you really want to use it. When we get into builds, you'll see I have a couple different ways that I build it. For barrel stuffing, I did forget the chest number for but it should be the same as Vital. So I can quick do that just so this is accurate if you choose to check out my spreadsheet. So it kind of is up to you if you're going to barrel stuff. I think it's probably worth using both hollow point and Vital. Recoil control is not going to be as important if you're within that 6 to 7 meter range. It's not going to be as important. So the Vital doesn't really hurt. So it's kind of up to you. Like I said, feel free to check out the spreadsheet and do some analysis yourself if you want. I'm going to go ahead and jump over to loadouts and kind of get into how I would build it and how I would recommend running this gun. Okay, first we're going to go with the build that I was running from JGod. I don't know if I'd still recommend it the most. Then just a note, this gun would kind of have a solos loadout as well as a duo trios quads. I'll get into that as I get into the magazines. But JGod, he had recoil booster. He had the precision barrel. He ended up going the Mark IV skeletal. I think you got to choose between that and the hand stop. Since you're gonna, we'll go with the barrel stuffing loadout first. So then we're gonna go hollow point. Your choice of optic, I'd recommend the slate reflector. Stock, I think you have to go folding. we're just going to go with the J-God build really quick. Sleight of hand. And then he had on hand. I still prefer quick just to help your movement speed. And then polymer, because with the J-God build, we went with 30 caliber rounds. And this was the build that I got from J-God, which seemed to kill really fast, was working really well. The problem is with these 30 caliber rounds, you only get 34 rounds. So it's iffy. You run out of ammo. That's why I'd really only run this in solos, maybe duos. If you run throwing knives, run this in duos. If you don't run throwing knives, this is solos only. And he actually had lengthened because of that damage range drop off. So if you run it with lengthened, no vital, you're going to get that, 10 point something meters. If you're really barrel stuffing people, I'd go ahead and go with hollow point because it's not going to matter. And then if you're running in solos, go ahead and go with vital. Now, if you want to run this in trios, quads, or duos without knives, I would probably avoid this mag, and this is where this gun really doesn't become that special. I would opt for the 9mm 60-round mags. That's enough to down an entire team, because I think the most you needed for that was 12 shots, and 12 times 4 is 48. So it's enough if you hit all your shots to down a whole team. The 9mm doesn't have too much recoil. Along with that, you either would probably go with the 570mm precision barrel or go with the 315 barrel. That was working well for me, but I'd probably stick with the precision barrel. Just gives you recoil control. But if you don't trust yourself to hit the body, I wouldn't run that. I'd probably stick with the Mark IV skeletal or the hand stop once again. But I'd stick with the Mark IV skeletal when you go 9mm. Hollow point or lengthened. If you don't want to barrel stuff, probably go lengthened. And then go fabric grip, slate reflector. Folding stock gives you sprint to fire speed and movement speed. You don't need the horizontal recontrol at the expense of movement speed. The skeletal hurts sprint to fire, hurts your recoil, hurts your hip fire accuracy. It's too many negatives just to get a little bit of movement speed and ADS speed. The body DA is an okay one, but once again, you lose movement speed, sprint to fire speed. But for recoil control, it's not bad. I found even with the J-God build that had a little bit of recoil, the SA folding was still probably the best. But I'd probably go SA folding or body DA. And then here, either go vital, hard scope for the recoil control, or go sleight of hand. If you're running the 34mm, I think if you want to run it in duos, you have to run sleight of hand. Otherwise, run vital. I don't know if vital really helps you. I don't think it has too much recoil. If the recoil is too much, go hand stop. Probably go quick. You can stick with fabric grip. If you don't want to barrel stuff, this is probably how I would run it. If you don't mind barrel stuffing, I would probably go hollow point here. Up to you, really. And if you go hollow point, consider the polymer grip and the hand stop. The hand stop doesn't hurt ADS. Mark IV skeletal does help ADS. So if you're not barrel stuffing, I would probably go this route. Those are kind of the different builds. Not incendiary, it should be lengthened. I think this is probably how I would run it from here. If I decide to run this gun, I think this is how I would run it. It's kind of up to you. This gun, like I said, is not really worth leveling it up. There's a bunch of different ways that you can run it depending on your situations. I think this kind of gives you the best of everything without having to really barrel stuff. If you don't mind barrel stuffing, like I said, I would just change to hollow point on this. But this is probably how I would run this weapon unless you want to run solos. Then switch to the 30 caliber rounds, and then either lengthen or hollow point, depending on if you feel like barrel stuffing, and then either Mark VI skeletal or the hand stop for the grip. And then vital or sleight of hand, and then either quick or on hand. But that's the Armaguerra 43. I don't think this gun's really worth it. This was a really long video for me to just say it's not worth it, but I wanted to present you all the data as well as a couple different loadout options. This is probably my optimal loadout for it because I don't really run solos. But that all being said, I appreciate you watching any of this video. If you just watched the very beginning and skipped to the end, if you just watched the loadouts, you just watched data, whatever you watched, I appreciate any watch time. I appreciate any interactions, views, whatever. So please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell for more so you know when I upload, and let me know down below in the comments what you think. Are you going to level it up? Are you going to even unlock it? What do you think of this gun? Do you just want to try something new? Let me know what you think down below. As usual, I will have sim.gg linked down below, as well as that spreadsheet that I created. I'll also have all my social medias linked like always, so please feel free to check those out. But I will see you on Rebirth Reinforced and Caldera. Get frying. Have a good day. Bye.